Happening, family? Pastor Joe here.
And Lady Lynnette.
Welcome to another episode of After Hours with Pastor Joe and Lady Lynnette.
Yes, very excited.
Dear, we've been going strong.
I know.
I think this is like episode 7, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somewhere along there.
We did church scandals. We did single pastors.
Mm-hmm.
And we did all last month in May.
Oh, we're including that.
So this is episode
Number
7. So
how fitting.
Yeah. Let them know what we're doing.
Okay. So welcome again, everyone. So if you are joining us for the first time or you have come back multiple times, we appreciate you being here. But each and every Sunday evening at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have conversations right here on the official Salem Bible Church YouTube page. We talk about everything, the body of Christ, church, the world, and how they all intersect. And we love the fact that you guys like and subscribe to the channel and comment real time, as well as the replay. And we encourage you to continue to do that.
A lot of people have been asking us, hey, how do I submit questions? And you can do it in multiple ways. Either you can leave the questions under the videos where you see this, or you can email us social media at salembiblechurch.org.
That is correct.
Social media with no S, correct?
That is correct.
Social media at salembiblechurch.org if you want to submit something that you want to hear us talk about. But if not, we're going to keep talking about it.
Absolutely.
So we've got a great conversation tonight.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Glorilla and Gospel. And for those of you all who don't know who Glorilla is, she's probably one of the most popular female rappers out there.
Yes.
All right. And we'll get into the things that she raps about. She's out of Memphis. She's very successful. And she's really been on a meteoric rise over the past 2 to 3 years.
Yes.
All right. Very, very household name in the context or in the community of pop music, hip hop, rap. Okay. Now, on this past week, BET, which stands for Black Entertainment Television, had their award show. I think the viewership was was a great viewership from what I'm hearing. A lot of things happened. There were a lot of stars who were there. Within the BET Music Award, there's a certain award that is given called the Bobby Jones Gospel Music Award. And Glorilla won Best Gospel Music Award for 2025.
Yes, featuring Kirk Franklin.
Yes. And Maverick City Fire, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
I think it's both. It was a collaboration. So we're going to talk about that. Now, instead of hearing from us first, what we want to do is we want to show you someone that we feel that is very is credentialed. He's highly respected. He is a gospel music artist himself, Dietrich Hatton, highly, highly talented man of God, incredible singer. He's been on the scene for a long time, and he made a public statement about the award that is resonating within the community. Now, we're not saying that all gospel musicians, that all people who are attached to the church feel what he feels, but there are a lot of people who are credentialed as well and who are respected, who feel that his words resonate. So we're going to play what it is that he said, and then we'll come back and give our commentary.
Sounds good.
All right.
The gospel music industry needs an overhaul, period. After last night's show, it's an indicator that we just need a complete reset. Like what are we doing? Are we allowing this to happen over and over again and wonder why the gospel music industry is dying? Come on, man. In order to have something different, you have to do something different. So we need people in the room that know gospel music, that's in the trenches of gospel music, that's advocating for the genre as a whole and not one particular person. It's already a small genre. So it's hard for us to watch the Dr. Bobby Jones Gospel Award being given to somebody that's not in our space, right? No disrespect to the artist, but that's not the space she's in. And so it makes it discouraging, disappointing, and it takes the wind out of all of it. And we wonder why gospel music is dying, because we're doing things like that. Well, on top of that is we're tired. Nobody will say this, but I will. Of seeing the same people being celebrated year Like no one else is working. You cannot just.
All right, so we feel that you all have. First of all, what did you think about that?
Short answer, I think he is absolutely correct. And I think that it promotes the conversation that needs to be had. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, I wasn't watching the award. Well, we didn't watch it because we were in the third heaven. And but when I heard that, I mean, I remember, you know, Glorilla had a gospel song. It kind of came and went, but I'm like, what?
I'm like, no. I'm certain that is not.
I was
true.
as shocked that she won that award as I'm certain them country music folks were.
100%.
Beyonce won Cowboy Carter.
100%.
Because that when she won that award, it was very similar to what he said.
Yes.
I don't think it's because they had something against Beyonce.
Right. But, you know, to his point,
it's not her space.
It's not her space, which is fine.
So you're bringing your celebrity.
Correct. And
that's what's happening. What I think what gives clout in these days more so than talent, more so than gift, more so than artistry is fame. Mm-hmm. How many people know you? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So we wanted to start this conversation with that particular one. Now, I asked myself the question, Lynnette. I said to myself, who determines, like who are the individuals that determine who wins? Okay. And it basically, it says, oh, I had it right in front of me, but I didn't. Basically, so go ahead.
While you look for that, because I think that's a very good point. I think one of the things that people really resonate with Dietrich Hatton when he was talking is the fact that it's such a protected space because it's such a small space.
Right.
And it's not this big grandiose, you know, everybody is always going to have gospel in a certain area or a certain thing. It's like, you know, this is our only like little space. And so for someone who is popular, who in her own right has reached monumental levels in her genre of rap, like, why you got to take over our little space, you know? And if she wanted to change her musical career to be less secular and more gospel, it would be taken completely different. But you can't just sing a gospel song and then go back to singing about what she sang about.
And when you listen to the song, I mean, the song is essentially, it's not a good song. It's
not.
It's just not. You're hearing Glorilla sing or rap with a trap beat, and you got Kirk Franklin leading it in and bringing it out. It's not a good song. It's not. And when you listen, when you hear all of the talent that's out there, and I think that's what Dietrich is saying.
Yes.
He's basically saying, out of all the people that are out there who are gifted, who are talented, who are doing all of these things, and you pick Glorilla. Now, when you do your investigations on how the awards are selected, it's a board of trustees. It's basically individuals who are voting, and they base it based upon popularity, spins. So nothing has integrity anymore, and that's exactly what he's saying. Nothing is about how real it is. How in alignment is this to gospel music?
Right.
How does this represent our community? And that's what he's saying. And that's what and the reason why we're to this point is because the gatekeepers of gospel music don't care about gospel music. And I want us to kind of talk about it, and I just want to kind of go in it from a way and a perspective to kind of take people from where gospel music started to where we are, and some missteps that happened and some things that are occurring that I don't think people are really paying attention to.
Okay, I'm here for it.
You want to give anything before we get into it?
Well, also, I mean, I love that. And I think that that's a great way that we can invite people to comment and engage in the conversation.
Yeah.
But I think, when we hear that quote unquote old school gospel, gospel music, it just takes you to a place you probably remember exactly where you were, exactly who you were with, whatever event you were with. And it brings back such great memories. Nowadays, you listen to a song, you go, oh, wait. Is that,
Right.
is that gospel music? Like, I didn't even know. And I think the BET Awards, I think society in general, especially with the influx of social media, we are so concerned with popularity. We are so concerned with entertainment that nothing is safe. Everything is up for grabs. Everything is meant to be disrupted. And Dietrich's point, in essence, was, don't mess up this space.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So you brought up something I think is a perfect segue. And I think people need to understand that the gospel music of today is not the gospel music that we remember.
correct.
Gospel music, by definition, or the gospel, is the explanation of the life of Christ from a liberative vantage point. The good news, or the gospel, is basically that Jesus Christ came, lived, died, was resurrected, and if you establish a relationship with him, you can have eternal life. So gospel music, the essence of it is in song, the conveying of Jesus. That's where it started. Now, there was a time when the church and gospel music were one. Thomas Dorsey, all of the legendary figure. When Thomas Dorsey was one of the gatekeepers of gospel music that we remember, gospel music was written for church choirs. That's why when you and I were growing up, you had Mississippi Mass Choir, Chicago Mass Choir, the LA Mass Choir. All of those songs we remember. So the gospel artist would write songs for the choir. So the success of the church directly impacted the success of gospel music. The success of gospel music resonated within the church because the two converged.
Makes sense.
Now, what happened in the 90s is something called praise and worship came in. Praise and worship was the person who was leading the entire audience, all of the parishioners who were there, in a praise and worship song. But it was no longer dependent on a choir. So that's when you start to see things begin to shift. And now you've gotten to the point to where there's no connection with gospel music and the church. As a matter of fact, the vast majority of gospel music that comes out, you probably won't even hear it at church on Sunday. Because as a pastor, I don't even sing contemporary gospel music. You know why? Because it's inspirational.
Right.
That's the shift. That's where gospel music has come to. When you listen to Glorilla's song, whether you sit around saying, well, it was positive. Well, she's not talking. What does she rap about? She raps about sex. She raps about violence. She raps about
her baby daddy. Well, she doesn't have a baby daddy, but she was talking about baby daddy in general.
Yeah, she's no beacon of light in terms of her message. She is no role model. She is no individual that I want our daughters to be like in any way, and I'm sure you don't. And I say all of that, not saying anything directly against Glorilla as a human being and as a child of God. But what I'm saying is her platform and what she has been participatory in is not in alignment with what gospel music is about.
Correct. And her walk, everybody has their own walk with Christ, right? That we're not criticizing that, but her being plopped into the gospel music, Bobby Jones Inspirational Award nominee and winner against Yolanda Adams and all these other stellar.
The song just wasn't good.
It wasn't.
It wasn't. It's not a good song. And it's okay that we're saying that.
Absolutely.
Because Dietrich was being very, very, and I can only imagine how a person like him feels.
Correct. Like I'm certain he feels offended. Like, this is my industry. This is something that I take great pride in and have dedicated my life to.
and others like him.
Yeah, I would too. And
So what happened at BET Music Awards is a bigger problem. And the problem that we as believers have to see is how secularity has taken over spirituality.
yes,
People don't care anything about righteousness. People don't care anything about Jesus. We are so numbed and desensitized, and we're so consumed in being a secular culture that the gospel award is given to somebody who is antithetical to everything it represents.
and we're not outraged about it. We're like, don't talk about her.
So the gatekeepers the gatekeepers of gospel music have let this happen. You understand that?
I understand, and I agree.
And it's sad when I go to church on Sunday mornings, I don't sing anything new. I sing things that I can feel because I grew up singing songs that had certain emotional bonds. That's why it's nothing better than a hymn. Jesus, how I love calling your name.
Yes.
No weapon formed against me shall prosper. You know, I need thee, oh, I need thee every hour. I grew up on that. And even to this day, those songs still have power. When you listen to gospel music today, it's impotent. And I feel Dietrich. I'm hurt because as a pastor, I still feel connected to gospel music.
Absolutely. And I think even as a non-clergyman, I think the body of Christ should have something to say about it.
Yeah.
And I think that we generally don't speak up when we are confronted with situations like this because you don't want to be talked about. You don't want to be ridiculed or sidelined. You don't want to be seeming, you don't want to seem like you're a hater or anything. It has nothing to do with that. It's, to your point, to Dietrich's point, to our point, it is a bigger issue because it is a clear sign of a systemic issue that hasn't been addressed.
Yeah. So the second thing that we want to discuss is the fact that gospel music no longer represents church culture. They're two different spheres. Because modern day gospel music is not the gospel music of old, and we kind of talked about that. Now, people have to understand why this is the case. One reason why it's the case is because gospel musicians no longer can live a lifestyle off of the genre. You see, back in the day when I came up and you had Dottie Peoples and you had Dorothy Norwood and you had Hezekiah Walker and you had the Hawkins, the Clark sisters.
Mm-hmm.
We had all of them. You know how they made it? In church. They would go from churches to churches, conventions to conventions. That's how they lived. No longer can gospel musicians feed themselves within the gospel music genre. If you listen to Dietrich, he said it's a small genre. So you know what's happening to them? They're going inspirational. That's why you see them trying to have music that's clean and inspirational, but it's not gospel.
Mm-hmm.
So really, they need to go ahead and say, this really isn't gospel music. This is a different genre. And on top of that, some of these gospel musicians are really individuals who think they're pop musicians because they want to be celebrities. They want to be stars. They aren't fueled by the fire of sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ.
And it's reflected in the music. I mean, you can tell that, but that you bring up a very good point. And maybe that's something that was shot down or maybe not explored enough about inspirational music and gospel music, because it's completely different.
It's completely different.
And I really just don't understand why it isn't a bigger deal to people, amongst other things that should be big deals. But
because that's how the enemy works. But on top of that, I'm gonna tell you something else that you see that a lot of people don't realize. Within the last generation, 15 to 20 years, you've seen a lot of gospel artists become pastors.
Yeah.
The reason why is because they're trying to take their audience and their celebrity and recapitulate it in a business model that works, because gospel music cannot hold them. That's why you're saying that. Because a lot of gospel musicians who are on labels, if they're signed to a label, there's stipulations that you can't perform in a certain area
Correct.
for a certain amount of times. So there's still a constriction. So when you get all these stars to come to your church, they can't even sing the songs that made them popular, because it has to be done through the contract. And that's happened at our church.
Yes,
and I won't call names.
Yes, it has. That's what I was thinking about.
So they become preachers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then when you want to hear them sing a song, they can't sing it.
Can't do it
unless they own the rights to do it,
which they most times
so
don't.
Right. So I want people to kind of understand it's deeper than that. And you know what? A lot of these gospel musicians can be very, very difficult to deal with. You reach out to them to come to your church. And let me say this is not all gospel artists.
Mm-hmm.
And I won't say who I'm talking about. But being a pastor of a mega ministry, number one, the mega ministries are really the only ones who can afford these people. When you say, hey, gospel artists, I want you to come to my church. Lynnette, the list of requirements. You be like, did I invite Glorilla? You understand what I'm saying? I need 5 rooms. I need 3 first-class tickets. I need 3 coach tickets. I need a $20,000 honorarium, a $15,000 honorarium. Okay. That's what it has come to, because
Wow.
a lot of the people who are in gospel music are there for the wrong reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see it in how they act. You can see it in how they do business. What do you think about that?
I was on the outside of, conversations and awarenesses about, things that you just spoke of. And it's a shame, because on one hand, you want people to be taken care of. Nobody is saying that you can't make a profit. Nobody is saying that we don't want you to eat. We don't want your family to eat. But come on.
Yeah.
And it makes you almost, if you're not careful, it can really make you soured against that whole interaction and the whole desire. And I mean, that could be another reason why the gospel industry is dying, because if you have to constantly deal with that, to invite that to your church, I mean, who would sign up for that?
Yeah, I tried it, and I had such a bad taste in my mouth from that one person. It's like, bro, look, I'm good.
Yeah.
And we've had world-class preachers come to the church, and preachers don't do that. We as preachers don't do that to that level. We've had some household names at our church, and none of them said, you have to pay me X. Now, there are some out there who will.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm saying, that's not a part of the ecclesiastical community.
Okay.
If you invite me to preach at your church, I'm going expecting that you're going to take care of me. You're going to give me an honorarium. You're going to fly, you're going to put me in a clean, nice hotel. And if you don't do that, then I just won't go back. That's how we as preachers kind of get out. I'm trusting that you're going to take care of the preacher. That's what,
That's the whole point.
That's the whole point. At the end of the day, we don't do nothing else. We got children and wives that like to eat.
Shots fired. Yeah.
But I want to bring up one more thing.
Okay. I'm just looking at the comments. Okay.
I want to bring up one more thing. And I hate to say this, but I feel it needs to be said.
Okay. Here we go.
Because one of the problems that is attached to Brother Dietrich's sentiments, I believe, is Kirk Franklin. Now, let me speak about this in as truthful and non-judgmental way as possible, because we've all sinned and fallen short of the glory of the Lord. Okay, we have. But Kirk Franklin has become the mascot of gospel music. He performed. All right. And there's no gospel artist that's bigger than Kirk Franklin. But Kirk Franklin is the one that the secular world is basically saying, you one of us. But Kirk Franklin, in my opinion, is not conducting himself in a way that is consistent of that title in an authentic way. Wearing heels, wearing the suits, performing on stage like you Prince. He was even, if I'm not mistaken, over in Jamaica and had to apologize for twerking. He had to apologize.
Mm-hmm.
Do you hear me?
I hear you.
And you know the worst thing about it is, even when Kevin Hart was doing his stand-up, he got up there saying, talking about Kirk Franklin twerking. And he called it something else that's not appropriate. But he made a joke out of it. But it was kind of embarrassing.
Like laughing at you, but
Exactly.
but really.
And Kirk, to me, when I saw when his face panned to the screen, you can tell he didn't find that funny. But this is where we've come. This is what we've come to. This is where we are. Glorilla winning that award is a much deeper systemic issue within gospel music. And as talented as Kirk Franklin is in his ability to orchestrate music, play.
I think with anything, Kirk has evolved with time. And I think potentially his desire to remain as relevant as the Kirk Franklin of old has lended an avenue to parallel secular music a little too often. And do people go to Kirk Franklin for inspiration? Yes. Do people go to Kirk Franklin for gospel? Yes. Now people are going to Kirk Franklin for rap adjacent.
Right.
And I think that is an issue, because we always, there's a clear line between church and state, right? Mm-hmm. Or apparently that is what we in the United States of America desire, clear line between church and state. And everything else has these blurred gradient lines. And somebody needs to say, this ain't it. Mm-hmm. Either you're going to be on this side of the line or you're going to be on that side. And you got to pick a side, and you have to make certain that
you cooking, dear. Keep talking.
You have to make certain that it's not offensive to the other side, but it's like, mm-hmm. Hey, you do what you do. I'm going to do what I do. I may not be as popular, but the road that is less traveled, you don't have no traffic in your own lane. Yeah. If I'm in my lane by myself, I'm not competing with anybody. I'm not trying to outdo anybody. I'm in my own lane, minding my own business, aligning myself with God's promise to me. It's not a democracy about what I do with my life. So the fact that you lane hopping, mm-hmm. trying to weave in and out of traffic and trying to get there as fast as you can is leaving a lot of people who look up to you to say, hey, what about us? What about what you preached about and talked about and made me feel a certain type of way about the body of Christ and being in the body of Christ?
Let me read something.
Okay.
If I may.
You may.
Because you were cooking on that. 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 1. But mark this, NIV, there will be terrible times in the last days. People will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boastful, proud, abusive, disobedient to their parents, ungrateful, unholy, without love, unforgiving, slanderous, without self-control, brutal, not lovers of good, treacherous, rash, conceited, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God, having a form of godliness, but denying its power, having nothing to do with such people. They are the kind who worm their way into homes and gain control over gullible women who are loaded down with sins and are swayed by all kinds of evil desires.
That's it. Nail on the head.
Very troubling times we're living in. And I think that we who are attached and who believe in this have to do our best to be certain that we're,
Respectfully.
putting our best foot forward. Like I always want to be mindful of, what do I look like when I'm preaching? How much preparation have I put? What am I saying?
Mm-hmm.
Do I always say the right things? No. Has there been growth in my life? Yes. Do I still need to grow? Yes. But what we're seeing now ain't right.
Correct.
And I think I respect Dietrich Hatton because he had to say something that a lot of people thought, but probably didn't want to say.
He had to say it.
So
Salute
to Dietrich Hatton. Thank you all for today. Let them know how they can connect with us.
So you are already in one of the right places, which is our official Salem Bible Church official YouTube page. But we also, on our website, www.salembiblechurch.org, we have two locations, one service at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time each and every Sunday. You can visit us on salembiblechurch.org if you are not in the Atlanta general area. We stream both of our locations and you can see us there, as well as Instagram and Facebook. Instagram is Salem Bible Church and Facebook is Salem Bible Ministries.
This upcoming Wednesday, June the 18th, join us at our Stonecrest location. If you need to know what location is Stonecrest, go to salembiblechurch.org. We have two campuses, our Atlanta campus and our Stonecrest location. The Stonecrest location is where we will be this upcoming Wednesday evening, June the 18th. It's called Spirit Night at Stonecrest. All are invited, all are welcome. If you're part of a sorority, fraternity, HBCU, whatever, or if your club or sorority and fraternity, Me Phi Me, we want to see your face up in the place. It's going to be a great day. We got a wonderful preacher that's coming from Chicago, Illinois, Pastor Reginald Sharp of the Fellowship Baptist Church in Chicago, Illinois, as well as the B. Chase Williams and the Shabbat Choir will be our special guests. So we hope you guys will join us live time this upcoming Wednesday, June the 18th for Spirit Night. Until next time, be well, be blessed, and we'll see you then. Peace.
Shalom.